Hello, dear friends. The picture is confusing, but I'll try to clarify it. Opinion piece. Tribulation or redemption? Utopia or dystopia? We are already tribulated. The divine plan always wins. Prophecies are very different. Sleep depriving contradictions. This film must have a happy ending. Let's start. When two messages offer contradictory information, there are only two possibilities. Either one of them is false, or both are partly right. But these contradictions drive us crazy if we think about them too much, so I will try to clarify this issue. While the sources on the global financial reset speak of jubilee, redemption, and global feast, but not before a global crash, a Marian message says that the Great Tribulation will begin on October 13th, with the horsemen of the apocalypse doing their thing. And Cobra says a pole shift with a gigantic tidal wave is coming. Who is right? These contradictions are sleep depriving. Edgar Cayce made some predictions related to natural disasters, and there are mention of this reading about the Etna volcano in Italy. Cayce predicted that the volcano Etna could experience significant activity and that a major eruption would occur in the future that would cause a major tidal wave in the Mediterranean. Etna is the most active volcano in Europe and has just released a gigantic cloud of dust. A volcano in Iceland has also just erupted after many tremors. Storms. I thought that we were already in enough tribulation without being tribulated even more, because we believe that we have passed the West, but it is possible that the liberation of humankind will have to pay a higher price than we thought. Some say the second coming will be the return of the Christ Spirit, and others say it will be the personal return of the Master in glory and majesty, who will rule the world with an iron hand. Some hold that it will be a literal and physical event, while others interpret it more symbolically or spiritually. Religious messages speak of salvation being in holiness, penance, prayer, and repentance for our sins, while messages of modern spirituality speak of psychotherapy, self-improvement, decrease, meditation, and ascension. But I dare not deny any path, because each has his own and all are respectable. Everyone makes a living as he or she can, materially and spiritually. Many people demand absolute certainties and get angry if I do not give them, but I am not an infallible oracle, and the future is a closed book whose pages we have not yet read. It is understandable that there are different sources and messages that convey contradictory or apocalyptic information about future events. Future is uncertain and subject to a multitude of unpredictable circumstances such as social, political, economic, and environmental factors. Claims about imminent or specific events in a specific time frame are very risky because no one knows the future in its entirety. The only absolute certainty I have is that God always wins, but sometimes at the cost of severe trials. Tribulation. The Great Tribulation is a belief that refers to a period of great distress and affliction before the return of Jesus and the end of the world, according to some interpretations of the book of Revelation. During it, there would be catastrophic events, a large-scale natural disasters, wars, persecution of believers, and the rise of an evil world leader known as the Antichrist. This period is seen as a time of divine judgment and purification, where believers would face extreme trials and tribulations. Some believe it would last 7 years, according to the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation. Others believe it would be a shorter period but very intense. Still others consider the events described in Revelation to be symbolic, representing spiritual struggles and individual challenges rather than literal future events. Redemption. Redemption implies deliverance, salvation, or rescue from a situation of oppression or suffering. It is a concept that has different meanings depending on the context in which it is used. In general, redemption refers to the act of delivering, saving, or rescuing someone from a situation of oppression, sin, guilt, or suffering. In addition to the religious context, redemption can also have a more general meaning in everyday life. It can improve or make up for the past mistakes, correct negative situations, or find a sense of renewal. It refers to overcoming mistakes, correcting negative situations, or personal transformation. Jubilee. Debt jubilee, also known as debtors' jubilee or debt amnesty, is a proposal or social movement that advocates the cancellation or significant reduction of debt owed by countries or individuals in order to alleviate financial burdens and promote economic justice. Historically, the concept of debt jubilee originates from ancient practices, especially in the biblical context. In ancient Israel, a sabbatic year was celebrated every 7 years and the Jubilee year every 50 years. During the year of Jubilee, the release of debts and the restoration of land to its original owners were proclaimed. These practices are aimed at cleaning up the economy and preventing the accumulation of debts and the concentration of wealth in a few hands. Today, debt jubilee has become a movement that seeks to address the problem of unsustainable debt burdens, especially in developing countries. Advocates of debt jubilee argue that some nations are trapped in a perpetual cycle of indebtedness and interest payments, which hinders their economic and social development. In addition, they argue that unjust or illegitimate debt acquired under corrupt systems or through predatory lending should be cancelled. Second Coming. The Second Coming refers to the belief in Christianity that Jesus will return to earth in the future. According to this belief, after his first coming, which culminated in his crucifixion and resurrection, Jesus ascended to heaven, promising to return again at some point. The idea of Second Coming is based primarily on the teachings and prophecies found in the New Testament of the Bible, especially in the Gospel and the book of Revelation. According to these scriptures, Jesus' second coming would be a supernatural and glorious event, in which he would come in divine power and glory to judge the living and the dead and establish his eternal kingdom. According to Matthew's Gospel, in quotes, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will cease to shine, the stars will fall from heaven, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. All the races of the earth will beat their breasts, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, full of power and glory. Close quotes. Rationally interpreted, the falling star could be meteors, and the darkened sun could be because of the solar system passing through a dense zone of the photon belt. But I have no further hypothesis for the rest of this prophecy except my own faith in the Master. Reset News. According to Max Seder, the world is at a tipping point or boiling point. They are trying to keep the air cloudy. Most of their sources believe we should have an action-packed week of news. Hopefully, we will get something that will dispel the rumor that there will be no VR until way ahead, or 2024, 25, or 26, or whatever. Severe storms dumped heavy rain in New York State on Sunday night. Solar storm flap. Possible minor G1 geomagnetic storm on Thursday, July 13th, when a solar mass ejection passes close to Earth. A close encounter could disrupt Earth's magnetic field and produce northern lights. The US military is deployed in 27 states. The Mexican army has taken control of the capital's airport and plans to take control of the rest of the airports across the country. Economy. According to Judy Bington, the gold standard for world currencies was announced on 9th July at the BRICS summit. According to the head of the Global Redemption Committee, Charlie Watt, we are waiting for Reno and Iraq to complete the global financial reset, while the Iraqi parliament said it would announce the new Iraqi dinar rate on Wednesday, 12th July. Yellen admits the country is heading for a recession. The Fed surrendered its assets, unable to repay its debt to the Global Depository. The following day, on Saturday, 1st July, the new QFS began to interface with computers around the world in order to coordinate foreign exchange transactions through the ISO 20022 International Payment System. China considers the BRICS group to be the most important platform for strengthening solidarity among developing countries, and also an essential factor for the establishment of a multipolar world. India and Tanzania initiated trade agreements in local currencies. India and Bangladesh only trade in rupees. Dr. Scott says BRICS is the coalition, and each country will have its own currency based on its own resources. The VR is expected to be quick, smooth, and hassle-free. The New Development Bank said the BRICS gold-backed currency is not on the agenda for the summit in South Africa. It has called on countries joining the BRICS system to strengthen their national currencies by backing their monetary system with gold or other commodities. Compliance with Basel III will strengthen their currencies and add value to them, and the single gold-backed BRICS trading currency will emerge at a later date. The dust is settling, and much is happening behind the scenes. Monetary policies are expected to be ready by Saturday. Europe. Netherlands. Rumors of Dutch government collapse, but no confirmation. X22 report. People are backing down and the leader of the Netherlands is falling. According to GeneDecode, the port of Rotterdam is fully automated. Ships are being unloaded in full automation. They are taking things out in Hungary, Russia, Amsterdam, Morocco, Greece, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Namibia, Mozambique, and South Africa. Something incredible is happening in Europe, which will fuel the awakening. Hundreds of people are going to distribute 1 million leaflets entitled Stop World Control. In every village and town in the Netherlands and Belgium, they will hand them out thousands of school principals, hospital staff, local authorities, the media, etc. The full-color, double-sided leaflets explain in a nutshell the globalist agenda to impose unprecedented control. Brexit leader Nigel Farage thinks the digital pound would be a tyranny. British parents could be prosecuted for refusing to pay for transgender treatment. Spain. Spain heatwave comes to an end, but high temperatures will persist. Zaragoza experienced flash flooding on Thursday, with torrential rain and hail lashed the province. The heavy downpour caused several streets to flood, and some drivers were trapped in their cars. Spain will deploy troops to Slovakia and reinforce the contingent in Romania. Americas. Indigenous communities in Mexico ask China for help with water. Demonstrations in Chilpancingo, capital of the southern Mexican state of Guerrero, have caused chaos and high tensions in the region. Cuba rejects the presence of a US nuclear submarine on the island. Worrying rise in line gambling among young Argentinians. Chilean government pays tribute to journalists executed during the dictatorship. Demonstrators against the Peruvian government demand that the police provide guarantees for their safety. Bolivia on the threshold of becoming a full member of Mercosur. Brazil wants to join the UN Security Council, and this is not new. Brazilian healer João de Deus sentenced to 99 years in prison for sex. The Colombian peso overtakes the Mexican peso as the strongest currency against the dollar, says the Financial Times. According to Goldilocks, the Colombian peso is emerging as the most revalued currency in recent times. The Colombian peso has risen 5.4% since the beginning of 2023, outperforming the Brazilian real's 4.5% gain, but underperforming the Mexican peso's 7.8% gain. Ukraine turns to inexperienced mercenaries from the Americas in the face of heavy casualties. NATO summit. Turkey backs Sweden's entry into NATO. Russia complains to the UN that Germany, Denmark and Sweden do not provide data on the investigation of the Nord Stream sabotage. Kissinger admits that Ukraine was behind the blowing up of the Nord Stream pipelines. NATO rejects Ukraine's membership at its summit in Vilnius. China prepares a massive Arctic eavesdropping program. China plans to use underwater sound scanners in the Arctic region. China and Russia want to lead governance reform, says Xi Jinping. A total break with China is unrealistic for the West, which is forced to engage in dialogue. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.